Hello, and welcome to the Weird Around Illinois podcast. Today we're going to talk about the Dogman of Elk Grove Village. Now, we've done a couple expeditions to check out this weird cryptid phenomenon that's been reported. Today we're going to talk about the first one. First, let me give you a little background on it. The Dogman of Elk Grove Village has been spotted several times over the last decade or so, and it's been seen in a couple locations, particularly close to Salt Creek, which is a little forest preserve that runs through the middle of Elk Grove Village. What's interesting about this is that when we first researched this, we found several reports on this Dogman, and some of the reports were quite detailed. One person said the Dogman was like following them home from the forest preserve. Another person saw it running out of the woods near their house. And the descriptions of the Dogman were similar to other Dogman sightings you might hear around the country. You know, the large, bipedal, mostly dog-like creature. Looks like a wolfman, for lack of a better term, like a werewolf. But some of these reports were so detailed that one of the people even looked it up on Google Earth and thought they saw the Dogman on the Google Earth photo and sent that in with their report. So it was pretty detailed. It was pretty interesting. But the weird part is all of these reports are missing now, except for one.
Yeah, I actually looked not too long ago and I couldn't see any report.
Oh, that's crazy.
Definitely, and the one report was there, honestly, was one of the weakest of the bunch. It was a howl report. Somebody who heard a dog-like howl near them, and apparently they said some magic word in response and got the howl again. I'm not a big conspiracy theorist, but I start to wonder, when these credible reports all start disappearing, what's going on? Why does that happen?
Yeah. I don't know, it's very suspicious.
Yeah.
Is the government trying to hide something?
Or did somebody approach these witnesses and tell them to pull their stuff down? Again, government, some other agency, I don't know. But it's definitely strange. Not strange enough to keep us from going, however. So
Right.
we took ourselves to Elk Grove Village one night and did our own search for Dogman. And that presented some challenges. Maybe we should talk a little bit about the environment we saw when we got there.
Yeah, before we get into that, I just wanted to mention, you can find our search in Elk Grove Village on YouTube. It's called Weird Around Illinois. The episode is on there, so feel free to check it out. So now let's get on to the environments. So the first one we went to, the first location was, there were a lot of cameras, and there are a lot of lights around, so it's, I don't know. We weren't sure if Dogman would be there, because there's a lot of like industry around it.
That's the weird thing about this whole thing. Like, Salt Creek runs right down the middle of an industrial park where most of the sightings occurred. So you've got this like thick wilderness and trees and the creek itself and everything else, but it's like bordered by parking lots and buildings and houses. Very strange.
Yeah, kind of bizarre for Dogman to be almost hiding in the middle of different environments.
Yeah. Almost like monkey in the middle, because you got all the industry like all around it. Just one spot really that you could be.
We were there waiting for him.
Yeah. And the second location didn't have as many cameras. I don't think there were any. There weren't as many lights. There may have been a few, but it was a little bit more believable to find a Dogman there.
Yeah, I guess the cool thing about it is because there were those industrial areas around there, we had convenient places to park. But as you mentioned, the places with the cameras, well, there are two reasons we want to avoid those. The first is you know, it could be private property and we don't want to get arrested.
Right.
But number two, if there are cameras on the backs of those buildings, you'd think if a giant werewolf-looking thing ran by the parking lot, somebody would have seen it at some point and reported it on the camera.
That's true. Yeah, we're thinking the cameras may have been inactive. We don't know, but we're hoping not. It has been a while since we've been there, though, and nothing's happened, so who knows?
Alright, so when we get there, gotta use some techniques. So number one, gotta do it Bryce style. You know, shout out to Bryce, what is it, Johnson?
Yeah.
Alright, shout out to Bryce Johnson. Yeah, so we just stay in the car for most of the time. They played it safe.
Yeah.
You know, we made sure that we kept track of our surroundings and, you know, listened for any unusual kind of things like, you know, crickets. I remember that there was some weird sounds, but like different, like crickets stopping their noise.
There were like a few times where the crickets went silent.
Yeah.
It's interesting. In addition to that, we also did like a few howls while we're there.
That was my job, and as I remember, it was particularly difficult because I was like 1 day removed from COVID. I had just been cleared to go out again, so...
Yeah, it's not in the video, but it's... The first one was bad, but the rest of them were actually pretty good for him just getting over COVID, so...
Yeah. So, in the middle, we had to get those beef sandwiches from Bona Beef, I believe, right?
Yeah, there's a Bona Beef right around the corner in Elk Grove, and we were surely appreciative of that.
Yeah, that was a requirement, just so you guys know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we got our night vision cameras.
Yeah, we had a night vision camera, which is
Single.
on my phone, basically. But it worked really well. We could really see around. So if there was a Dogman around, we could see it.
Yep.
No doubt.
Then a EMF detector. We did get some spikes, but sadly it didn't get caught on camera. Not thankfully.
Yeah, it was hard to see on the camera, so I didn't really think it was worth putting in there, but it really was weird because all of a sudden you'd get a random full-on spike, and then it would just go away, even if we're pointing it at one spot.
And we almost didn't even bring the EMF detector. Is that there's never been any real link to electromagnetic activity with Dogman, but I just thought that we should apply the same tools to every cryptid hunt. And, you know, if you're looking for ghosts, you're going to use an EMF detector. There are people who claim to have electromagnetic spikes when they're looking for Bigfoot. So I just thought, you know, what the heck? We'll just have it on us, and if something happens, it happens. Strangely enough, it happened.
Yeah, I believe it was as we were driving away, it started going off.
That was when we got the biggest hits. We got a couple of minor hits while we were parked, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it went off for like a split second. You could never catch it on camera that fast.
Yeah.
Possible.
Yeah, and, you know, there are a lot of logical explanations for EMF spikes. It could be some sort of weird cell phone activity. It could be an airplane flying low overhead, or, I don't know, reflection off of something, somebody using some sort of communication device, and it happens to bounce our way. But it always just kind of raises the question when you get them so randomly like that.
Yeah. You know, that reminds me, this was not too far away from the airport. What was it, O'Hare Airport?
Yeah.
It was, there were a lot of airplanes going by. Another reason why we were kind of afraid Dogman would be scared off or something, because there's so many airplanes and they're really loud.
Yeah, and there are a whole lot of reasons why he should not be in that area, but at the same time, there were those really credible sightings, and there was that thought in the back of my head, and this is something we're going to talk about in future podcasts when we talk about our trip to Elkhorn and everything else, but the Beast of Bray Road up in Elkhorn, Wisconsin, if you were to trace sections of woods from Elkhorn, Wisconsin to Elk Grove Village, Illinois, you could basically get from one location to the other without ever having to walk through major population. You know, you could theoretically, if you were a dogman, if you were a wolf-like creature, you could stay in the shadows, stay along the river, stay in the woods, and make it from that location to this one. So maybe it's a migratory animal. Maybe it goes back and forth between the two places. Maybe, you know, he was in Elkhorn 2 decades ago. He was in Elk Grove Village a few years ago. Maybe he's moved on to somewhere else now. The fact that he was sighted in Elk Grove Village doesn't necessarily mean that he's been living there this whole time right under everybody's noses.
Yeah. And if you want to find the Bray Road one in Elkhorn, our search, that's on YouTube as well. So definitely check that out if you want.
Yeah, while you're there checking out our channel, why don't you go on ahead and subscribe, you know? Doesn't hurt.
And it might help. I wanted to go back to when we were talking about the beef sandwiches. Now, I know we needed the beef sandwiches more than anything, but we also needed them as bait. We rolled those windows down, and there's no way anything within 60 feet, 60 yards of that car couldn't smell that smell of, you know, beef.
Yeah.
We were sure that there was going to be something, you know, if Dogman was there, he was going to be charging that car.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No animal can resist that.
Yeah. But, you know, in terms of animal activity, it was surprisingly quiet. I mean, we heard some crickets. We think we might have heard some bat activity, stuff in the trees, that kind of thing. The one thing I think I spotted and you guys didn't, I saw something hop through the tall grass. I assume it was a rabbit. It certainly didn't look big enough to be what we were looking for, but it was, you know, maybe 1 foot to 1.5 feet long and moving very fast. It couldn't have been more than 15 or 20 feet away from it.
It's interesting. It's very interesting because we didn't really hear about it afterwards. We didn't hear it move or anything. It was just that one time that you heard it.
Yeah, and that kind of reinforces the idea that, you know, even in a populated area like that, you don't really know what's close to you. I mean, the grass was about 3 feet high there. There could have been anything in that grass. And then the trees beyond that, the bushes, you think you know what's around each corner, but you really don't.
Yeah.
It's kind of frightening when you think about just what could be in the woods a few feet away from you, and you'd never know unless it moved.
Yeah, that was in the first location, by the way.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit surprising to see perhaps a rabbit in such a lit up place with all those different buildings, but possible.
Was it the first location or the second location where we saw the mystery pole?
That was the second location.
Yeah. It may have been the second, or it may have been a third one where you just quickly looked around. It may have been that one.
Okay.
Yeah, there's like a third location where you just kind of looked around, but there wasn't really anything much to see there.
Yeah, I just remember we were all looking at that pole and saying, what the heck is that thing doing there?
Yeah. And I remember that I looked behind us and all I saw was the pole. I mean, it was just a pole, but I gotta say that was still a little bit frightening.
Yeah.
You just the unexpected is always frightening, and that was just like the weirdest place to see that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't know if it may have been a human who put it there. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, that's basically all we found while we were there, though. Rabbit, a pole, and some EMF spikes. So
maybe that wasn't second location. But we actually went to that same area again. We're gonna have a video release sometime soon, so keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, we've visited that location twice. Strangely enough, I think we'll probably need to visit there again on a different hunt. Because the big talk now in Elk Grove is the Mothman.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Somebody had a Mothman
Alright.
sighting there. So we'll definitely add that to our list. There's plenty of weirdness in Illinois for us to check out and around Illinois. We're not going to limit ourselves just to this state. But basically, if there's something weird in Illinois, we want to take a look at it.
Yeah.
This was the first of many hunts that we've already done, and we are planning many, many more.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining us in our podcast today. And again, this is the Weird Around Illinois podcast. We are linked to a YouTube channel of the same name. Perhaps you could tell more about.
Yeah. So it's called Weird Around Illinois. You just subscribe to that. All the future videos will be on there of all of our searches. So yeah, definitely keep an eye out for that. And that's about it.
Thanks for listening.
Goodbye.